Hi, my name is Michael McWilliams from the New School Rubric Show inside the principal's office. Many of us have finally made it to spring break, and you know what that means. It means we have an opportunity to replenish ourselves, to rest, read, and refuel. But it also means this school year is on the downward slope and hiring season is upon us. I want to invite you to join me and my co-host Charles Williams, along with a panel of principals, as we discuss hiring up. We want to discuss those strategies, those principles, and those things that we can do to ensure that we are recruiting and getting the most quality candidates possible. Would you join us this Saturday, March the 20th, on all of School Rubric's social media platforms? See you soon.
All on spring break, Matt, but you're absolutely right. This is the hiring season. So this Saturday on March 20th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we encourage you to join me, my co-host Mag, and some other amazing principals as we discuss hiring up. Leaders, if you're looking to identify high-quality candidates who also fit the culture and climate of your building, this session is for you. Teachers, if you are looking to stand out and to join an amazing crew, this session is for you. We know that this is not an easy task, but we are going to come together, share some thoughts, share some ideas, and also we want to hear from you. So please make sure that you join us. Well, it looks like my next appointment is here, so I will see you on Saturday, March 20th Saturday, March 20th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to catch you there. Come on in.
Hello and welcome to Inside the Principal's Office. I am so glad that you are here with us again today. So to all of our viewers from wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be, we are just excited that you have joined us this morning. If you don't know, if this is your first time joining us, Inside the Principal's Office is a safe space. It has been created by leaders, for leaders, and it's a safe space for us to come together, for us to learn how to grow and connect from one another, and just providing that space. So thank you for joining us here. And this wouldn't be possible without School Rubric. So we definitely want to give a nod to School Rubric, an organization that is designed to connect educators from all around the world. And one of the wonderful things they create, they produce, and they even host a variety of educational content, podcasts, edu shows just like this, and even magazines. And speaking of magazines, we have two other contributors on the show with us this morning. We have both Dan and Veronica. So we are going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. But before we jump in, my name is Charles Williams. I am one half of Inside the Principal's Office. I am a principal in Chicago, the host of the Counter Narrative podcast, founder of CW Consulting, and obviously this co-host of Inside the Principal's Office, one of my favorite places to be on a Saturday morning. But notice I said one half, because next to me, I have my amazing co-host, Michael McWilliams. Mike, take it away.
Hey, Charles, thanks so much. I am so excited. Was this episode 3 of Inside the Principal's Office? This is an excellent opportunity and an excellent venue for leaders to get together and talk about issues that are impacting our schools. I'm Michael McWilliams. I'm a career principal. I'm in year 19, sitting in the principal's seat, and I'm still learning every single day. And Inside the Principal's Office has become one of the many sources of learning that I have. So I'm looking forward for this dialogue today. It's a very important topic, and I am looking forward to learning from our two guests today.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, our two guests are contributors to School Rubric. So thank you for doing that. But more importantly, thank you for being on the show. So Veronica, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Good morning from Southern California and good afternoon, maybe from other parts in the world. But I am Veronica Rodriguez, and I am a middle school principal out at Nicolet Middle School in Banning, California. And I am, it's such an honor and pleasure to be connecting with all of you today. And I just love what I do. I'm excited to be able to have a conversation about one of the most important decisions that we have to make as educational leaders. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of coming into this position as a middle school principal and barely in my second year is writing this article and contributing to the school rubric and talking about the importance of building school culture. I was able to come into a school site that had been struggling for years with a large amount of turnover, declining test scores, and just because of circumstances that just were out of their control. And they have a great community, and just being able to come in and just build on some of the love and passion that our staff already had by building the culture and being intentional is what I focused on in the article. So I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to share this story and some of the prideful things that we've contributed to the culture in my 2 years so far there.
Absolutely, Veronica. It sounds like we have a very similar journey, so we should definitely connect after this. And before we jump to Dan, I want to say good morning to everybody jumping in. I saw Ashley, I saw Susan. That's my mom, so thanks, Mom, for supporting. You always got to support your kids, right? No matter how big your babies get. So I'm going to hop over now. Dan, take it away.
Well, good afternoon. I'm in Leicester. In the United Kingdom. If we want to add a little bit of geography to it, we're about 90 miles north of London. And I've been writing quite a while on my blog, and I was lucky to have one of my articles shared with School Rubric, which was great because, some of the language that we're talking about around community and how we can all work together to enable the best for our pupils is in the blog that I've wrote and kindly had it shared with School Rubric. And obviously there's lots of other articles and bits and pieces on my site, leadinginthenow.org. But yeah, again, it's my second opportunity to talk with you two kind gentlemen and my first time to meet with Veronica. So it'd be great to have a chat about really something that globally is a really big thing.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that you and Mike have done more than just chatted. Am I not correct?
We have now kind of created a bit of a partnership between our two schools. And if I'm right in saying, I've really set hairs racing in my school because lots of my staff are now looking to see whether they can go and work for Michael.
Come on over.
So probably it's a really good thing we're looking at staff recruitment because they might all be going over to Texas quite shortly. But no, we're looking to make sure that we can create some global experiences for our pupils.
Right. And our entire community is excited about it. The parents are excited about it. And I'm going to tell you, they're already talking about Texas size care packages with Texas items. So y'all get ready.
Very exciting.
All right. So I know that we are getting ready for our first question, but you know what, Mac, I've been talking a lot in the beginning of this. And so I said, I'm one half. I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy.
But you're so articulate. We love it when we hear you talk. But let's jump into today's show. Very needed conversation. We want to take an opportunity to collaborate today around the idea of hiring. We know that hiring season is upon us as we end the year. We're also setting up and we're making projections for next year, and most definitely staffing allocations and picking the right staff members to join your team is so very important. Again, I've been a principal for 19 years, and I quickly learned hiring is the most important thing you do as a principal, because the number one indicator to student success, the teacher that you allow to be in front of them every single day. And you know what else I learned? When you're hiring, you're picking your work for the year to come. If you pick the wrong person, you're going to have a lot of hard work supporting them, possibly documenting, being in their class. But if you do your due diligence, never make a quick hire. But if you vet candidates and get the right person in the seat, you will have an incredible year the following year. So the format of our show, we have a couple of questions, but we're going to engage you in a dialogue. If you're on social media, we encourage you, if you have a question, go ahead and type that in the chat. This is a live dialogue. We are building a community of learners. So let's look and let's start with our first question. It comes from Patrick Guy, who is an elementary principal in Louisville ISD in Texas.
Hello, my name is Patrick Guy, and I'm the principal at Rockford Elementary in Louisville, Texas. And one of the most important things that I do is hire the correct people. So the question I would like to propose today is, what strategies have you been able to implement in the hiring process that have helped you to identify and assess the strength of each candidate? And also, after doing that, how are you able to engage other stakeholders in your organization in a meaningful way so that they can have voice in that process? Thank you.
That's an excellent question. Veronica, how do you handle this on your campus?
As Patrick was saying, it's one of the most important decisions that we can make as educational leaders. We often make decisions on what we're implementing or what initiatives are we bringing or what curriculum are we using. But when it comes down to it, as you said, the most impact comes from the people in our building and who we hire and bring on our team. So being very, very strategic, very intentional about our hiring process is so important. So some of the things that I like to do is really truly gauging whether you're bringing in an A player. You don't want to trick them up. So maybe providing them with the questions ahead of time. So they come, a lot of times your A players, they come early so that they have a chance to compose themselves and be ready for the interview. So during that time, why don't you give them the questions so they're able to really truly think and reflect and provide you with an answer that is going to be they're able to process it and really give you the true version of themselves. And then of course, getting on the same page with whoever you have in your interview panel. So I think it's important to engage stakeholders, whether it's going to be parents or people on the team, have that conversation of what are we looking for, and what is our mission, what is our expected outcomes from the person that we're trying to hire for this specific position, and what kind of competencies and skills are we looking for, and then just incorporating some of the higher level thinking questions, maybe like a scenario, because then you can truly gauge whether they're not just spitting out facts or those in words that you're looking for, that they think you're looking for, but truly seeing how they would handle certain situations with scenario questions. So those are some of the things that I use and strategies I use when we're looking at hiring teachers and being intentional about your questions.
Excellent. I like that, being intentional, and the culture and the priorities. So just really making sure that you align your questions with your priorities so you can adequately probe them. Dan, talk to us about England and Leicester, England.
Yeah, so I mean, we have for many years we've had a traditional model of watching, obviously, the teacher in the classroom and deliver a lesson over a short period of time, and then obviously a formal interview, and that kind of process. And I think the more we've moved away from that, because when you give a candidate 30 minutes in a classroom, they're going to be going to pull out something that possibly they've rehearsed really, really well. They're very well, they've thought about it. They've really well executed something. And I think sometimes you get an opportunity to see them at their best, which is what you need, but you also need to see them at their truest. And one of the things that we've tried to do is make sure we give opportunities for them to be on campus, have lunch with our children, go out at break with them, and really, as leaders, step away from that process and maybe pair them up with, a member of our support staff for a break time, allow them to go and sit in the dining hall with another one of our teachers, and actually, as a community, have a sense of where our candidates fit within our family and within the school. And ultimately, a lesson can give you one thing, but their interactions with children,
Mm-hmm.
more outside the classroom than in the classroom is really, for me, what it's about. Because there's going to be times where we're going to have to teach new candidates, or especially new teachers, their skills. They're going to have probably not as much subject knowledge as everybody else, to which we're going to support them. So really, it's that want to be in the mix with everybody, to be with that family of teachers, and to be the right person to make those relationships.
Well, that is excellent. And I have in the principal's office, a journal, and y'all are giving me some great things. If you see me looking down, I'm writing, because I say that our school community is like a team. It's like a sport. And you never see someone get a multi-million-dollar contract without having a tryout. So I love that concept of putting them in the community to see if they're going to be that fit for the culture of your school. How are they responding to kids? Because that's what I find. I find that, you can get someone at the end of a table, and they can say all the right things, but when they get with the kids, how do they actually interact? Because kids will let you know if this is someone that they want to connect with, someone that's going to be able to touch their heart. So I think that's great. And that's one of the things that we do at Savannah. We do the traditional, questions in a conference room. But I think that you have to let teachers try out. One of the things that we do is we give them a data packet when they receive or when they come. And it's common formative assessment. And we ask them to look at this classroom, which is actually data from one of the classes on our campus. We black out the names, and it is, look at this data and tell me, what would your intervention plan be? Who would you intervene with? How would you approach? What would your next instructional steps be? So anything that can help you see them in action, I think is really key, that project-based interview.
I love the fact that you guys are all talking about this idea of not just asking questions, right? The traditional interview approach, but seeing teachers in action. And Dan, I love how you go beyond that. Instead of that half an hour interview process, no, plan to be here all day, right? I want to see how you interact with individuals, and I love that. And I think I'm going to borrow that idea. One of the things I know I do whenever I do one of those sample teaching opportunities, I walk the teacher back to the office, I let them meet with somebody else, and I immediately go into the classroom and I ask the kids, what do you guys think? Right? Because here's the thing, right? Like you said, I'm setting up what I am going to be doing for the rest of the year with this teacher. But the reality is those kids are going to be sitting in front of the teacher for the remainder of the year. Right. And so I want to know from you, what do you guys think? And I've had times when the kids are like, no, this person is not going to vibe with us. It did not work. And, I can't discount that. I have to include that in the overall decision. Right. And there have been other times when they're like, this person's amazing. Can they come back in right now? We can just keep this rolling. Right. And it really tells you a lot. And so I think one of the things for any of the teachers or potential teacher candidates who are watching is this goes beyond those questions. Right. And I think Veronica mentioned this. It's not, don't get real comfortable with figuring out the right words, the verbiage, and just kind of spitting those things out. Come prepared to do. I mean, in some of our amazing schools anyway, right? So school leaders, step it up, go beyond those questions. So I was just curious. I just want to bring it back around really quick. I mean, I know we talked about seeing people in action. What is kind of that aha, when you've seen somebody, were there any red lights or green lights for you in your experience through this process?
I think giving participants the opportunity to be in our school in the not the most strangest of times or the most kind of busiest of times, but lunchtime is a really key thing for me. Our lunch halls are always frenetic and full of children chatting, and if you can observe a candidate, with a group of 5-year-olds having lunch, and they're all coming up and asking what their favorite food is, and having that great interaction that only 5-year-olds can offer, you can immediately get a sense of whether or not, they're right for the school, or, they feel comfortable around, that age children. But I think for me, it really is about giving opportunities for people who might not have the experience, might have sometimes the weakest answers sometimes in interviews. You know, we have to be aware of that, because if there's a lot of skills and knowledge there that comes with experience, but experience shouldn't replace what is fundamentally the most important thing, and it's about that connection with pupils and parents and wider stakeholders. So yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to that later, but that for me is the right thing.
You know, and this is why I truly love the opportunity to connect, because I think too often in education, we fall into just traditional ways of doing things, you know, and so really looking at what other people are doing. And I love the idea of, and I think we've fallen away from that, to be quite honest with you, you know, because you think about how busy we are and how much we have on our plate. And, you know, to spend a whole day with one candidate, it just kind of seems like, oh, that's too much time. But it's really like, I think, as you mentioned, Mike, that it was, it's an investment. It really is an investment. And I love what somebody put in the chat of bringing in kids into getting their feedback, because imagine the empowerment they feel. Somebody mentioned about empowering kids, how they would feel to say, I have voice of who we bring into our building, who's going to teach me. And that just really adds to the value of the hiring process. So I love that.
And talking about community and culture, wow. I said yes to her, and she was my sister's teacher next year. That is powerful.
You're right. Absolutely.
You know, and so, you know, Veronica, I think that was Debbie that mentioned that. And so, Debbie, thank you for being here, a good friend of the show. I appreciate you. So here's the thing, right? It sounds like, and I don't know if you guys caught this, we talk a lot about what teachers should be doing, right? About what aspects and structure should be in place in school, student voice and choice, relationships, community. And that was a part of every single one of our responses, right? And so again, I think one of the things that we need to remind ourselves as leaders are we creating that from the get-go? As leaders, are we demonstrating that through every single one of our practices and showing a candidate off the bat, when you walk into our building, we could talk about it, but are we about it? Can I show you this is what we believe in? And I think hiring can be one of the first steps to show them what we are all about. So I appreciate all of your responses. And before we jump in, because I know we're getting ready for question 2 here, viewers, please do not forget to follow, like, and subscribe School Rubric, you know, on YouTube and on Twitter, because this is just one of the amazing things that they do. And so you do not want to miss out on some of their other projects.
I think School Rubric is absolutely amazing. And what we're trying to do for principals, for school leaders, aspiring school leaders, or even teachers that want to better understand what leadership is like in a school. If you're watching on Facebook, or if you have a Facebook account, we invite you to join our Facebook group, which is called Inside the Principal's Office. I think I know those 2 gentlemen that are on your screen right now, but it is so much bigger than those 2 guys. We're really trying to create an environment where principals can ask questions and where they can get ideas. I told you about my little black book that I'm just writing things, and we want you to join our group. I think this week we had a poll, and there was great quality conversation that surrounded it that can really empower your work on a daily basis. So we want you to jump into the dialogue, jump into the conversation. We want this conversation to extend beyond these shows every other Saturday.
Absolutely, Mac. Absolutely. I love the fact you said it is bigger than the 2 of us. We love doing this, but it is not about us. It is about all of you. So getting ready for question 2. Now, we talked a little bit about how teacher candidates can sell themselves to us, kind of what we're looking for to bring out, but it's not just a one-way street. Sometimes we have to sell our schools to a teacher candidate as well. So this next question comes from Katie Kinder. She was a recent guest on my podcast. So Katie, take it away.
Hi friends, my name is Katie Kinder, and I am an instructional coach in the Putnam City Schools District in Oklahoma City. And my question today is, the top teaching candidates are most likely fielding other offers and opportunities from other schools and districts. Within the factors that are in your control, what are things that you can do to convey your enthusiasm about their candidacy and make your school stand out so that these top candidates consider joining your team? Thanks. Can't wait to hear from you.
This is a great question, and I'm excited to hear your answers because I'm a small school on the far west side of Chicago in CPS, which is a huge network that offers some amazing things. As a charter school, sometimes it's hard to compete. So Dan, I'm curious to see, how do you lure teachers into your building?
I think it's really important that as schools now we see ourselves, in the marketplace, and actually we are competing with other schools. With staff retention, we have a huge problem in the UK of teachers leaving schools quite early in their careers. And also, we do have a lot of teachers, looking for work, especially the last 2 years, obviously with the pandemic. NQTs have had a brief pause, or newly qualified teachers have had pauses in their training and their experience. So I think really we're fundamentally in a point where we do need to look at how we present ourselves outwardly. And I think a lot of it now is about interaction with social media and our website and all of the kind of outward facing material that we have to not only, present to pupils, but actually, having an up-to-date website. I know this sounds like a basic thing, but there's nothing worse than going on to a school that you're looking to apply for, and the last piece of pupil news was maybe a year ago. The staff list is changed. The latest newsletter is, 2.5, months out of date. So I think actually, and I know in the UK we have control over our websites. I know it might be different for different districts, and I know that might be the case over there. But being visible, being active, seeing showing people what goes on in your school, those exciting bits of learning, the friendly faces, all of those things, you make a judgment straight away. And I think immediately having poor social media, having a poor online presence is a huge turnoff, is a really huge turnoff. And I think one of the things we do need to do as educators at schools is get wise to the fact is actually, choice of school and choice of candidate is very much, driven by what your school looks like from the outside.
Right. Absolutely. I think like us, right? The very first thing people do, you Google, right?
Yeah.
And so as soon as you Google and things like you have to, right, in this day and age, be cognizant of what is being said about your school, because like we've always said, right, your story is going to be told, whether you're the one telling it or not. Your story is going to be told. So definitely being cognizant of what's being put out there. One of the things that I came across, I guess we were doing this, I love it when you do something and then somebody gives a name to it. It's called the flipped interview. I love dedicating time during an interview to just say, look, I want you to ask me questions. Right? Because now I know, one, what's important to you, right? So I'm still interviewing you. But it really gives me an opportunity to talk about my school. And then you get to see my enthusiasm. You get to see my excitement for the things that I love about our building. Oftentimes I tell people, look, maybe I can't compete with the salary of this larger district.
Right.
But here's the thing, like we're a family. And maybe you will get that, maybe you won't. But I can guarantee you when you're here, this is the environment that you're going to be in. And more often than not, when people have had to weigh that, like, do I want to get paid more or do I want to love being where I'm at? Right. That love wins out. And that is one of the things that have been able to keep us being able to bring in candidates. Veronica, what about you?
I love your idea of the flipped interview. It's really important that whoever we bring on the team, especially when we're looking at, A type players, they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They really want to go out there and make a difference and make an impact. And so if you give them an opportunity to ask questions so they're able to see that you're in it for the same reasons, then it's going to make them want to be a part of your team. But this is a great question because I came into a school that had a bad rap, and I actually got a message from somebody on Instagram after they found out, from a student, after they found out I was going to be coming to the school, saying, oh, good luck, you're not going to want to be here very much longer, and unfortunately they've had turnover in administration. But it's right along what you guys said, it's about writing your own narrative and putting the information out there. Make the positivity so loud that the negativity is hard to hear. And it's about keeping your website updated and putting those positive shining lights out on social media of your school, because like you said, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do their research. They're going to Google, they're going to look at your social media, they're going to look at your website, and you want to make sure that the positivity and you're shining the light on all the incredible things that your school has to offer.
And where possible, partner with a school in Texas. I think, aside from a social media angle, I think it's about making sure that, candidates really understand the community and context that you are serving, because, and it's very important, because I think someone raised the comment about people who really want to work in education. It's more about, it's not just about them. It's that opportunity to really, really change pupils' lifestyles and life outcomes, but also the society in which they come from, and actually selling that to candidates and saying, look, what you're going to do is really going to make a difference. That, for me, is one of the big selling points, and giving people that opportunity to kind of go, wow, this is going to be something big and I can really be a part of this.
Yeah. Tracy Browder said in the chat that we have to understand, and thank you, Tracy, for that we have to understand that there are other people shopping too. And I think that, but beyond branding and marketing, when I get you in my building, I'm going to be very strategic. I'm going to be very intentional. I'm going to be very direct. I do the flipped interview too, ask me some questions. But I usually start my interviews by saying, I've done my due diligence. I've vetted candidates that have made it into this room today. And I start by saying, we're both going to make a decision today. You're highly qualified, and there's no doubt that you could do the job that we have open. But I've got to decide if you're a good fit and if you're going to work here, and you've got to make the same decision about us. So I'm just very intentional. I know that you probably have other interviews, and I just put it out there. What is it that you need to know about us? What do you need to know to bring your talents to this building, especially when it's someone that I'm very excited about. And there have been times that I've invited them back to come have lunch with the team. That's the possibility for you, come walk the building and just give them as much information as possible about our culture, because we can't impact things like pay benefit packages. We can't control that, but we can control culture. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. So let me, beyond Facebook, let's have a conversation so I can paint a very vivid picture of how we're winning at Savannah Elementary and what we can do to help grow you.
And I think as well, those conversations are really important, because you have to make sure that those candidates know where you are on your journey. And I think if you oversell yourself and say, look, we are an amazing school and everything we do is perfect. And it's not, and you are at this point of where Veronica was, of turning a ship around and making sure that you're, stopping it from sinking. Candidates need to know that that's the case. And actually,
that's right.
Some candidates are going to be really excited about working in a school, which is actually, look, we can get our sleeves rolled up and really make a difference here. So I think sometimes it's trying not to oversell it to candidates, but also making it really realistic that we are in this position. And if you want that challenge, this is the place.
Yeah, and give them a sense of purpose. I like that about sharing your journey. That I believe that I believe that anytime someone leaves you, this doesn't sound very pretty, but I'm going to say it anyway. I like hiring up. When you have someone leave you, the quickest way to reform your school is to hire someone better than what left you. So to tell them, this is where we are and this is what we need, and I see these characteristics in you, just setting that purpose of, wow, this place doesn't just need a warm body, but they need someone with this skill set so that I can help take this community from their now to their next. That's really, really powerful.
Hey, Mac, I want to jump in really quick, because I know we talked a little bit about this as we were planning for this session. sometimes we're in schools, like Veronica mentioned, my school is in this place. Like I'm from the hood, right? My school is not in the greatest environment.
Right.
And so the one thing that I want to tell people is this: don't go chasing candidates. Please don't do that. You may have an amazing candidate that walks into your building, but if they're not a good fit, if they don't want to be there, let them go, because you're going to do a lot more work. It's going to be that much harder if they stick around. Yeah. I've had people come up to me at a job fair. Hey, where's your school? The Austin neighborhood. Bye. And they walk away. And it's like, the people with me are like, hey, can we get, like, no. If they don't care enough to be in our neighborhood, they're not going to care about our kids. And that is what we need in our building. So, if your school is in one of those positions, if you are a leader that is cultivating and changing things, those people who don't want to be there, let them go. Let them go.
I think we have our third hashtag from this hashtag, let them go. Every show we get a hashtag, let them go.
Can we sing it like Elsa, though? Is that okay?
You can.
I know I can.
You get a weird little ponytail things.
That'll be my next character dress up. No. Dan, we did have a question. I know we have a few minutes, and if we could just touch on this really quick. You mentioned something that I think sparked curiosity in a lot of people when you said, I don't do the 10 to 15 minute, I don't do the half hour. Like, this is a process. Can you just talk a little bit about how you ventured into that and that transition process?
I think we were becoming increasingly, and this is no fault of any candidate I've seen or any kind of process I've been involved with. I think it's really a case of it just became a bit of a kind of an interview trope that you'd expect to see a teacher teach 15, 20 minutes and then they'd have an interview. And that's great. And you get to see, a teacher in front of the pupils. However, what you see is something that's actually very well prepared, well polished, and normally 9 times out of 10, I'm in the room with the children as the teacher's delivering this lesson, and so therefore behaviour will always be good, I hope, and the way they interact with pupils will be very much how they want to be seen interacting with pupils. So I think we kind of realise that this is a bit contrived, because actually we're never going to see this real person interact with the children, because it's always going to be in front of me or another member of my senior leadership team or someone who has a level of authority in the school. So we have those moments, but also what we try to do is widen the scope of observers to not just senior leaders, but another teacher, someone who will be on their peer, who could be possibly one of their peers. And then, like I say, give them opportunities to be on the playground at break time, go into a dining hall. And one of the things that we had to do during lockdown was we couldn't have teachers walking into a classroom and having 30 children there doing the same thing. So what we tried to do was, one of the things we did do, and it was probably one of the things I would do every single interview, especially working in elementary school, is we asked the candidate to choose a story of their favorite, they choose their favorite story and go and read it to a group of 6-year-olds.
Wow. Socially
distanced. Then you get to see, I think, those teachers who really enjoy spending the company of children and being able to hold their attention and hold their curiosity just by reading a story. And to be fair, the essence of that exchange sometimes epitomizes everything that elementary school is all about and primary school in the UK.
That's a good golden nugget. That is a good golden nugget. And it sounds like, I know what some leaders may be saying, wow, that's time consuming. That's a lot. But
I think it is.
In hiring, it's either pay me now, or pay me later.
Right.
And if you pay later, you're always going to pay more than what you would do on the front end.
I think as well, it's about making sure that in that process in which you're viewing applications, I know that's the first step here, is that really does need to be a really, really well thought through process, that you're really spending that time reading that letter of application, making sure that actually that anybody who goes through that initial process is the right person before they step into your building. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Veronica, any ideas, closing ideas before we jump into our last section here?
I'm going to just say how great it is to have these conversations, because I think if we're really going to move forward in education and really improve our educational system, we need to be reflective in our practices. And so, having this conversation, I've been in 2 different districts where we are very, very traditional in the hiring process. And it is exactly, we've fallen into that trap of 30-minute interviews. And allowing them to provide them an opportunity to interact with the community and interact with students. That's where it matters. And so I appreciate this time to be able to really go back and reflect and ask our district leaders, what is our processes, and ask those questions to be reflective and improve and get better at our hiring practices. So thank you.
This is such a robust conversation this morning, and I think that we should continue it in our Facebook group this week, because I've learned so much from all of you this morning. We're going to move in as we kind of draw our session this morning to a close, and we're going to move into the section that if you have a little black book, you want to take this out, because these are going to be some good reflection points for you this week. Ideas that stick. We want to ask the question, what is the most important quality you look for when hiring a teacher? And each one of us, we've kind of come up with some things for you to consider this week.
So, Mac, if I could jump in and kick things off, the one thing that I always look for is kind of that spark, right? I want to see a person light up when they're talking about their students, about their subject, about education, whatever it may be. I want to just see somebody that is excited and truly interested, because, if you're sitting there and you're just, again, spouting out facts, spouting out buzzwords, just kind of like, that's not going to do it for me. I want to see that kind of fire that lights up inside of you when you start talking about education. Then I know you're truly passionate about what you're doing. Veronica, what about you?
I think it's along those same lines. It's about the passion and enthusiasm that they bring into the interview or into the model lesson that they show, because we know that the number one impactful that shows the highest impact is teacher efficacy. And if a teacher can come in and know that they're going to come in and they have the passion and the desire to make a difference, whether it's in their content or just kids, it has to be in both. It should be in both. But that's what I look for, just that same spark, that passion, that enthusiasm, and that desire to make a difference.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dan, we're going to bring it right around.
Okay, well, I think for me, the most important thing is the ability to make relationships. And that is really about looking for the right candidate. I feel very strongly about that as the thing at the forefront of our process. We can develop subject knowledge. We can develop teachers. We can develop their assessment skills. We can develop their skill of being a teacher. What we can't do is that ability to make relationships. It has to be that for me.
Absolutely. And we have saved the best for last. Mac.
Veronica talked about teacher efficacy. We know that, again, number one indicator of student success is the teacher that's in front of them every day. So I look for those teachers that have a growth mindset and that are truly learners, because when students learn more, when teachers learn more. So find a leader, find a learner. A teacher who won't be the same teacher next year. Absolutely. When I hire you, I want to watch the trajectory of your growth.
Love that.
Yeah.
So these are all some amazing ideas. I hope that you wrote them down in your little black book. You have your notes. You have things taken away from this. And as we begin to wrap up here, we just want to give you a few reminders, a few closeout thoughts. First, do not forget to join us on the 23rd of March for office hours. Join me, Tracy, Spencer, and Naomi as we talk about our why in educational podcasting. It's going to be a great show. So join us on March 23rd. Educators Without Borders kicks off again on March 27th, and I cannot wait for this conversation. Breaking Barriers, talking about equity in school leadership. This is a hot topic, so make sure that you join in for this conversation. Now, one of the biggest things, and I cannot wait for this, and I know I'm signed up, Mac is signed up, there are schools across the world that have signed up, which is called Rock Your Class Kahoot. This gives us an opportunity for our students to compete against one another from around the world. And I can tell you my students are hungry, so you better bring your A game.
Cool.
And of course, we have Dan and Veronica on who have contributed articles. And so don't forget that you can always do the very same thing. If you have something that you want to share, you're not a podcaster, you're not, somebody who wants to sit here and talk on camera, but you love to write, you could always submit articles to School Rubric. So please make sure that you do. And then, of course, we are going to be taking a break. I know that we've been following our pattern, but our next show would fall on Easter weekend. So we want to be respectful of everybody. So we're going to take a short break, but we will be picking back up on April 10th. So please make sure that you join us. Dan, Veronica, I want to say thank you for being on the show. You two have been amazing. Yes, Mac,
thank you.
Of course.
Can I say another thing? I just want to reiterate that the conversation continues, that, don't wait until April 10th to connect with us again. Go now and join that Facebook group, and then follow us on Twitter, follow School Rubric, follow myself, follow Charles, our guest today. Let's truly build a community, and let's stay connected in between shows.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mac, for being an amazing co-host. I appreciate everything,
Charles.
And to our viewers, we want to say thank you for joining us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever it is that you may be. We want to say thank you. Remember, subscribe and follow, like Mac said, and we will all see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching School Rubric on YouTube. Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe in order to stay looped in on all of our diverse collection of shows, interviews, panels, tutorials, and more from educators around the globe. And visit us at schoolrubric.com for even more great content, such as our online articles, Interact magazine, featured podcasts, and more. Thank you.